Let's go. Welcome to the main event. Applying pressure, but I promise I ain't make it then. In their heads, living free, I ain't paying rent. Wake up in the AM, making G's like Mercedes-Benz. Whoa, yeah, please don't take it.
Welcome to the Pinnacle Living Podcast, helping you reach the pinnacle of both life and business. Joined today by Mr. Jonathan Vila. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing outstanding. I appreciate you having me on.
Dude,
Thank you.
I'm super excited to have you here. Dude, I don't know if I ever talked to somebody more than we did that I never met in person for like the longest time.
Yeah, we ran into each other quite a bit.
Because we both ran Chicago when we were all in person, and we ran, mortgage leads, and we'd run into each other's clients all the time. Yeah. And dude, it was honestly a great experience.
Yeah, it was.
You were always, by that time you were really set, you were crushing it. And I was getting momentum, and we just, we had a really professional, you'd run into a client of mine and be like, "Oh, Gabe's great." I'd run into a client of yours, and it would be like, "Oh yeah, dude, you've got the best option out there." And then we once in a while reached the person before the other one did. It was like, okay, this is fair game. And I remember Jackson actually reminded me. He's like, when I was field training Jackson, we went to an appointment and you had just left. And I was like, that son of a gun. And I called you and I was like, you so-and-so. But like in a fun way.
Yes.
And
all in good fun.
Yeah, all in good fun. And but yeah, dude, good times.
Yes. Good times in the field. I actually miss those days of running direct mail mortgage protection and in the summer of Chicago's.
Oh, dude, go with the grab a iced tea, the sun is down, and especially when the simplicity of just running business. Like I love every aspect. I love building. I love where we are now. But I think it's romanticized in my mind. Like, dude, I get up, I work out, grab a coffee, go to my first appointment. Yeah. Listen to some music or a podcast. Yeah. Go to an appointment. This guy, like, oh, it's an easy buy. This one, no show. This one, not today. But like the leads, the appointments are set. I know I'm going to have a good day. Yeah. No matter what. Yep. And it was I just enjoyed it. Going out, making fun connections with people. Yes. Like I really love this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing about just, the structure of just running appointments in person. Usually it was in the south side of Cook County.
A lot of times.
And
all over.
Stack the deck, a bunch of appointments, and rip some insurance.
Dude, 100%. Now let's talk to something I'm really excited to talk to you about, because you've been in this industry for 2019, so
2020.
2020. So 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Going on 5? No, yeah. December.
December will be 4 years.
So December will be 4 years. And it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always no pressure, window down, and enjoying the day. So to give us a little bit of your stories, a lot of this I don't know, so I'm excited to hear. Yeah. Was insurance your first shot into sales?
No, I had recently, back in 2014, I got the entrepreneur itch, and I had read a book on how to wholesale real estate.
Okay.
Basically flipping contracts. You would get, a motivated seller to sell a property at a discounted rate, and then you would just flip the contract and maybe make $5 to $10 grand. And that led me to, I started marketing and doing direct mail marketing on that end, and didn't get any deals. And then I read this ebook on how to flip test strips, how to make money selling test strips. And I started buying and selling test strips, and I took that business to $10 million in 2016.
Whoa.
Yes.
I had no idea about any. You said test strips?
Diabetic test strips. There's a market for them to be bought and resold.
Whoa.
Yes.
Dude, this is already so funny to me, because we're talking about motivated sellers who you were going to be protecting later with mortgage protection. We're talking about diabetic test strips, so you're going to know a lot about diabetes in a couple of years. So wow, 10 million in 1 year.
Yeah, I ended up scaling that to like a wholesale medical supply company, and got into a bunch of debt, overextended myself, and I actually had to pretty much lost it all.
Wow.
Had to sell my house, sell my car. Had a bunch of lawsuits pending against me. It was not fun. This was 2018. And then 2019, I was trying to figure out what my next step was.
Yeah.
I just gotten divorced, a bunch of L's I took in that period of my life, and was just trying to figure out the next step. So I was doing Uber, and I was rebuilding my old company with with an uncle of mine, and it wasn't working out as I had planned. And I had a good friend doing insurance, and he's like, "Dude, why don't you just sell some insurance?" I made 20 grand last month. You know, the famous, I made 20 grand. Everyone makes 20 grand.
Yeah.
I made 20 grand last
It's a magic number.
And I was watching videos, and I was watching a bunch of trainings and videos and people just claiming to make money. And I said, man, I think I can make this happen. And so this was back in November of 2020. And then I took the test late November, and then I sold my first policy December 19th of 2020.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
Dude, I wasn't expecting this to be such a Cinderella story, dude. So you went through quite a journey. You went through what were you doing before you got like the entrepreneurial itch? What were you doing?
Yeah, I was a nuclear medicine tech.
Okay.
So I got my associate's degree from a community college in Chicago. And my first job was actually down the street, a community hospital.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And it was a 45-minute commute from my house to the community hospital.
Wow. Yeah, which is 5 minutes away from our office here.
Yep.
Wow. So you went from that. You're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. What was it about being an entrepreneur that motivated you so much?
That's a good question, man. I would say it was financial freedom. I wanted to create a legacy for my family. And, you know, my dad is a Cuban immigrant. He came here in 1969, didn't have anything. And my grandpa was a mechanic for Canfields. I don't know if you ever had the Swiss cream soda.
Yeah.
That's a known Chicago favorite. And he was a mechanic for the trucks, and he grinded all his life. And my dad was an accountant. He worked hard too. And so I wanted to create a legacy, and I wanted to get out of the quote unquote rat race.
Yeah, 100%. And dude, so go from that into real estate, going into, you know, your own business, going through the up and down, and then into insurance. What was the beginning of insurance like for you?
Yeah, so everyone has a different journey, right? Like I got started actually really good. Okay. And the first person I sat with, I sold them.
Nice. And
I'll never forget, I was like, my hands were shaking because I thought like after they made the decision to buy that they would change their mind all of a sudden. And I did pretty well in the first few months, and then because I was running these internet leads, and then I moved over to mortgage protection and had my own struggles there. Didn't sell much. And as I mentioned, I was buying $2,500 worth of leads to sell $3,500 worth of insurance. The math ain't mathing at that point.
Yeah. And
eventually had a call with my mentor at the time, and he corrected some things. And then that month I sold about $46,000 in issued business.
Wow.
That was May of 2021.
Yeah. How long was that And I think that's such a great story for agents to hear, because dude, that was I'd come from 10 years of direct sales experience, door to door. And I thought I was going to come in and just wow everybody. And I can't, dude, my first week I got just trashed. And I thought I was working so hard. I put $1,000 in, and dude, I turned that $1,000 into $900. I made one sale. Nice. And, you know, I was like, okay. And I was just like, all right. And I think everybody has that moment of doubt. Pardon me this for a second.
Yeah.
Where I was like, is this for me? And I was like, you know, I just had this overwhelming feeling like, dude, other people are doing it. Why not me?
Yeah.
If they can, why not me? And, you know, turn that around. And the next week I like 6x, 7x my money, which is nice. So for people to hear you taking that $2,500, which is a big investment.
Yes.
A week. And that's what you spend on a week.
Yeah, that was on a weekly basis.
And on leads.
Yeah. So those direct mail leads were hitting hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because this is 2020.
Yep.
The mortgage market was going crazy.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of people to mail, a lot of people wanting this insurance. How long do you think it was like you were doing that, where you were barely getting a return
It
on your
felt
leads?
like ages, but it was probably 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
But it felt like, I knew when the leads would come in. It was around 8, 9 o'clock at night,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of grimacing because I was hoping that it wasn't a big lead order that day, and yeah, it would be $1,100 or $900, and then most agents at this now I would be happy to spend that, but at that point it was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. So yeah, it was probably about 3 to 4 weeks. It felt like much longer than that, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you were working
Yeah.
during that time. I mean, how long could you roll those dice and not making really any money?
Yeah, it was. I was pretty much coming to that point where, like, all right, I got to drop this and just go back to the leads I was running before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember talking to my mentor at the time, and he would call after every appointment and say, "Hey, did you sell it?" And I'm like, "No." And I always try to stay optimistic. Hey, no, I didn't, but it was a good conversation. And I'm like, nah, man, it's not working. This isn't working.
What was the tweak? What were some of the tweaks? Do you remember? I know that was years ago that you
Yeah.
needed to make that was really like stopping you from making those sales.
So what caused the change was they recorded my presentation, and I would basically at the beginning of my presentation be like, "Why do you want this?" And then I would go on to like these rabbit trails and just say really dumb things,
Mm-hmm.
and got a lot of I think about it and what we all do,
Yeah.
all the things that we hear on a daily basis. But yeah, I just had a better structure on my presentation
Mm-hmm.
and asked the right questions, and it was unlocking. When I asked the questions, you're like unlocking different, you're unlocking different doors to different answers that allows you to, get the client to be vulnerable and open up and
Yeah.
talk about the why. And now they're invested in the conversation. Now they want to buy.
Yeah. Obviously, this was in a time where we were all in person.
Yeah.
I think now you and all your people virtual. Tell
Yes,
us
sir.
this?
Yep, 100%.
Dude, how much easier do you think that would have been if you had a script to follow in front of you?
Yeah, it would have helped.
I think about that, especially when people are like kind of push back. It doesn't happen a lot, but once in a while someone's like, "Oh, I didn't want to do a script." And I'm like, dude, I wish I could have
We're
done
doing a script.
a script. Because basically I'm in front of somebody. I can't look down at something and read.
Yeah.
They'd think I was crazy.
Yeah.
So I had to just memorize as much as I could.
Yes.
And so, I mean, yeah. So having a solid structure.
Yes.
And how much do you change up presentation to presentation? What you say, or is it basically the same every time?
That's a great question. Lately it hasn't been much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe every once in a while there'd be some minor tweaks. Maybe a client says something that'll throw you off, or make it forces you to go in a different direction. But your job is just to go redirect the conversation where you want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say really not too much the past year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I found that from a lot of top producers who are just like, say basically the same thing every
Yeah.
time. I think that throws off new agents. It threw me off.
Yes.
When I was like, oh, this person is amazing. Their ability to like connect with everybody in a unique way. This is what I thought. And then I actually watched presentation. I'm like, oh, they actually say the same thing
Yes.
to everybody the same
Yes.
way. And so you started, so you said 46,000
Yep. In May.
in
May
May.
of 2021.
Wow. What was that like?
That
How
was
did
great.
that feel?
That was excellent. That definitely built the belief in the business. And at that point, I was obsessed with just direct mail mortgage.
Yeah.
So I just went all in on direct mail mortgage, and I was just trying to lock out all the counties at that point
Mm-hmm.
that I could. But yeah, definitely cash flow was nice.
Yeah. What was your vision at the time? Because we're going to talk about where things are at now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had gone through a lot of multiple different businesses at that
Mm-hmm.
point, and had some success, some failures. What was your vision for this business, and how has that transformed into today?
So what appeals to me is the buyout,
Yeah.
and having your book of business get purchased.
Sure.
I love selling insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I love actually helping agents sell insurance and taking an agent from 0 to 20, 30, 40K and essentially changing their life. I get great fulfillment and satisfaction from that. But ultimately, my goal is to have the ability to have my book of business purchased and
Mm-hmm.
bought out.
Yeah, of course. And talk to people about that, for people that there's probably, I'm 100%, there's people watching this who are in a similar situation to you. Maybe they run a small business. Maybe they're a serial entrepreneur. They've run a couple, and they're considering the insurance industry. And I think that is something that a lot of people, everyone that I've ever met that has had multiple businesses, is thinking the same way.
Yeah.
They're not as, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as mesmerized by like a big influx of cash like they were for, because they know how much hard work it is to do that consistently.
Yes.
And they want to build something that's theirs.
Yes.
They want to build something that, maybe they could sell. And it's not that they don't want to work anymore, but they want to see that there's, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Talk to people about, and so for the people who don't know, when it comes to some of these other businesses, talk about how this business is different from those.
I would say the life insurance industry, in general, the amount of cash flow and the amount of capital that it takes to get started up in a business is pennies compared to how much is $500,000 to start up a Subway.
Yeah,
and how much are you netting and clearing at the end of the year with that? With food costs and real estate and rental costs, and staff.
Yeah.
So with this business, you can literally take $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and buy leads, and then multiply that, and then just essentially play with house money.
Yeah.
At that point, so the startup costs, yes, it is a business, and yes, you do have to invest in it, but the startup costs are nominal compared to other industries and other businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, I was blessed to be able to help 5 of my friends, before I was ever my own business owner, start businesses of their own. There's a restaurant, there was a furniture resale sale shop, there was some lawn care businesses, and dude, every one of those, I don't know if you, and you probably have, sat down with like a business planner, someone that's going to maybe give you a loan. We have to go get a loan for that business. Dude, those are the most depressing meetings I've ever been. Like, you really feel like the person is trying to talk you out of it, because they're like, Jonathan, so here's the deal. The first year, your goal is just to not go out of business, to end in the black, even if it's a penny. You're probably not going to pay yourself a salary. You're not going to make any money, but your goal is to, build a client base, do this, do that. And then the second year, if you do really well, you can start paying yourself a little bit, or you can start maybe even not, maybe invest into your business. Then maybe year 3, you start, and it's like, and people, dude, they sign on the dotted line, and they're like, all right, I'm going to take this huge loan, maybe $500,000, against everything that I own. And I'm going to work 90 hours a week to make no money, with the dream of financial freedom down the line. Dude, I'll be really honest with you, John. When I came into this business, I told you I put $1,000 down on my first lead order. Dude, I had $2,000 in my bank account. So it was half my net worth. And I just took that money and I rolled it into, made more. And then, like you said,
house money.
I played with house money at that point, and never had to take a crazy loan. Never had to, do that stuff, and here we are today, and it's crazy what you can achieve.
Yeah, as long as you stay disciplined and consistent. And the rest is history.
Dude, that's a great segue. So, dude, talk about, you've been a top producer now every year you've been in the business. I think we were talking a second ago, I think over 300,000 every single year, 400 last year, and I think on your way to 400 this year. Now you have a sizable team.
Yes.
And so you're making a good chunk, with the team as well. Talk to people about the discipline and consistency with being a business owner, because you've had some ups and downs in the last 4 years in this industry even.
Yeah.
So talk to people about how that factors in.
Yeah. As salespeople, I see a lot of the agents that even I work with tend to be very, they tend to allow their emotions to get the best of them.
Sure.
And so they get a big sale. They're doing their
Top of the
they're
mountain.
doing a victory lap around the office. High fives all around.
Dude, so the first big sale, you just reminded me of this. It's so funny you said it just like that. Actually, multiple. I remember the first, I had like a 5K sale. I got done. I FaceTimed each one of the 3 or 4 agents that I had in contracting, like Mindy, Sean, all these people. And I'm running around the block. actually running on FaceTime. I'm like, $5,000. I made $5,000. And then I had a big chargeback like a week or two later, which was another large sale that I just should not have. I learned later that it was me.
Right.
I made a mistake. And someone came, we had a little storefront office, and someone was coming for me, and I'm like laying on the ground in my office spot, and like my friend who's like my like makeshift assistant at the time, she's like, "Hey, is Gabe there?" And she's like, she looks in, I'm on the ground, she's like, "He's busy." So when you're talking about the highs and lows at the beginning that salespeople experience, dude, I relate to the nth degree.
Yes.
And so talk about how that messes with people's consistency and discipline.
Yeah. So you get this huge adrenaline rush and this huge hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
And when you get that big sale, but then, you go a couple days, you get zeroed out, a couple bagels.
Yeah.
And then you allow that to take you low. So what I've learned is just you don't let the highs take you too high.
Right.
You don't let the lows take you too low. And I think just sticking on the bigger picture on what you're trying to accomplish and achieve in this business. Yes, you're going to have those good days. You're going to have bad days, but you just stay consistent, stay disciplined.
Yeah.
And it works itself out as long as you do that.
Yeah. What were non-negotiable like things that you're like, I'm going to be consistent on these things every single week?
Yeah.
And disciplines that you had in place to make sure that happened?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is just working on Saturdays. Like I've worked out of the close to 4 years I've been here. I probably only took 3 or 4 Saturdays off. So I've been working Saturdays is a must. That is a day that allows you to get ahead with most folks and most people, most clients, most agents would think, oh, and it's a weekend. It's not a good time for people to get reached out to, but it's actually the perfect time.
Yeah.
They're relaxed. They want to talk to you.
Yeah.
They're off. They're spending time with their family. And so
my biggest days were almost always Saturdays.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonah and I talked about it. So Saturday run days were the best.
Yeah.
And so that would be the first one. But just consistently purchasing leads, investing in your business, essentially. And, stay disciplined. It really is. I mean, a lot of agents want to talk about different things about their script, but it's like, all right, well, are you putting the activity in? Are you putting in the dials? Are you buying new leads? Because 9 times out of 10, it's usually those issues and not their script.
Yeah.
Majority of the time.
So you said leads there twice. So obviously now, not only have you been a top producer for years, now you have top producers on your team.
Yeah.
How often should you be buying leads, and what should be a typical investment?
Yeah, it's I would say at least once a week.
Yeah.
And at least $500.
Yeah.
That's bare minimum.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at anywhere $500 to $1,000 a week minimum. And so multiple times a week.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
And you weren't confused. And let me ask you this, because pretty soon you were spending $2,500 a week. So you weren't confused about leads. What made you have the belief how long were you working before you were putting in that kind of lead investment?
I mean, as much as I could afford.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, my credit was actually really bad. So I was running the business straight cash, which if anyone who's done that knows it could be difficult to do.
Dude, I didn't have any credit when I started. I just never established I had zero credit.
And as the cash flow came, that's when I would, as long as my bills were paid, I was still living with my parents at the time, so my expenses were low, and so I just poured it all back in.
Yeah. That's and then what were your dial days like? And I'd like to ask you what they were like when we were in the field and what they are like now, and how you tell your agents to be, because we used to say it. It's funny when we say it now. We say, "Oh, the money is made on the phones," which we do everything on the phones now. So people are like, "Well, duh." But back then we were in the field and dialing,
setting appointments.
Yeah, but so what was that like, and how has it transformed?
Yeah, so before, when we were doing it in person, it was just 15 appointments minimum. Every Mondays and Thursdays you would dial for the next 2 days to book 15 appointments.
Yeah, and those 2 days.
Correct. Yeah. And so Monday would book for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday would book for a Friday and Saturday. And so we're the mantra of 30 appointments a week was what we were running. If you're trying to sell more, obviously you just buy more leads and stack more appointments.
Yeah.
And so that was the name of the game. And now what we're doing over the phone is now we just focus on the activity of the dials. So we're telling our agents at least 300 dials and 5 presentations. Because if you do 5
And
full
that's
presentations,
daily.
yes.
Okay.
And if you do 5 full presentations, you're going to find one that hopefully is a lay down, and
Right.
you stumble upon some premium. And so, that's a bare minimum. And I said, if your skill set is bad, then you're doubling that. You're doing $500 to $600.
That's really good. I heard something, and you probably heard something similar when you started, is that really helped me think about appointments. Because I think so many people that don't have sales experience, they walk away from someone they didn't sell, and they think, oh, I'm just bad. And like if Jonathan had run that, he would have closed it. And I didn't close it just because
Yeah.
I'm bad. I heard this. There's 25% of people that are going to buy no matter
Yes.
what. Like they might as well have the check on their forehead when you talk to them,
Yeah.
because they're just ready. And as long as nobody weirds them out, like they really want insurance, it's really important to them, and they've been looking for it. There's another 25% that are not gonna buy no matter
Correct.
what. It doesn't matter if John or Gabe or the best salesman in the
Yeah.
country talks to them, they're not gonna buy. Everything from they're just a tire kicker. They were never serious.
Right.
They can't qualify. They don't have the money. They don't like how your face looks.
Right.
Any of those things they're not going to buy. And then 50% are up in the air, and that's where your skill is involved.
Yeah.
And when I came in, I'm like, and that's what you just shared, which is phenomenal. 300 dials, 5 presentations a day. Because if you're running those 5 presentations a day, the odds are you're going to get that
Correct.
one person who is just a laydown.
Correct.
And then you're going to get practice
Yeah.
on the people that were kind of up in the air.
Correct.
And then eventually you're going to be getting those guys too.
Yeah.
But, with leads and with the compensation that we have, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Jonathan, I lived off that 25% for probably my first year. Like, I'm just
Yes.
looking for those laydowns.
That's what kept me in
dude.
business that time. Yep.
I'm looking for those laydowns.
Yeah.
And what are your, like, when it comes to selling over the phone now, time that you get started, the way you take breaks, days that you work, what does that schedule look like for you? And what are like non-negotiables?
Yeah. So for me, I have a newborn son. So that
Congratulations.
thank you. That has changed my schedule a little bit. But ideally, I'm at the office by 9 at the latest. And I'm there 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And so I am now more focused on the team building side. But lately it's been a lot more annual reviews, and maybe I'll run 1 to 2 days of full schedule, just run it. But yeah, my non-negotiables, I'm there at least 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And just focus on those 5 presentations when I am running appointments.
How have you seen, and actually you talking about doing the annual reviews kind of unlocked something in my mind I wasn't even planning on talking about, but how have you seen your profitability over the years change? Like the profit you were making from year 1 to what you were spending and what you're making change to now? Because I know it's a transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, because 20,000 issue paid isn't always 20,000 in deposits.
Right.
And so I remember, just wanting to. One of my goals, this was like a year and a half ago, was just to get 20,000 deposited. It doesn't matter what I issued, as long as I get 20,000 deposited, that'll pay my bills, allow me to invest in leads. And over the years, that number has steadily risen as I've built a team, as I'm able to not maybe purchase less leads because I now have a book of business that I can call on and see if they want more coverage. And so it's definitely grown because I have 500-600 clients that are still in the books that know and like me.
Yeah.
And
that's something that doesn't get talked enough about in this in this profession. That you have all these people, a lot of them you saw in person.
Right.
And, obviously, if, telesales, you still make a connection. You're their insurance guy.
Correct.
And you hit them back up and you're covering another spouse. You're getting referrals, giving a kid. Now you're doing advanced market. So, maybe they want a big IUL. Maybe they want an annuity. How how do you follow up with your clients? What does that process look like for you? As far as like, how do you, how often do you reach out? Do you send them a card?
I
Do you
try
do that stuff?
to, I wish I took more notes, but I just go back to when I spoke with, when we met, and I might recall, hey, how's everything going? I'll recall, the conversation we had when we spoke, and try to build a genuine connection in a minute. Hey, and get them the good vibes again. But I mean, basically, I'll position and say, hey, you know what? They wanted me to reach out to you. That whether it was Aetna, thank you for being a client. You could qualify for an additional $5,000 for $50. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And maybe a third of those will say yes.
Yeah.
And I just position it like that, and
Which what could be easier?
Yeah.
They already know you. You're calling them basically to shooting the breeze.
They already
And
believe in
then-
insurance.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, you want some more? And I mean, it costs you nothing.
Correct.
And
Correct.
they're like going to say yes or no, and I'm sure for you, it's not a hard sell either way. You're just like,
No.
oh, okay. And if they're like, yes, okay, great, let's just
Yeah,
do it.
exactly.
And not free because you work for it, but I'm sure it feels like
It feels great.
free money.
Yeah. Feels great.
So talk to us about, we talked about direct mail. That's kind of what you started on.
Yeah.
I know you're not doing direct mail
No.
anymore.
And I love direct mail.
Yeah.
But I just knew the reality of the situation was I couldn't.
And talk to people about that, the reality of the
Yeah.
situation, because I think new people coming in, and maybe people who've been doing this for a little bit less than you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you've just, for whatever reason, kind of don't know what the climate is.
Yeah.
Talk to people about what you've seen even the last 4 years with direct
Yeah.
mail, the way that it's trending and the way that you and your business have adjusted, because it's phenomenal, and I
Yeah.
wish everybody would do it.
So in 2021 was my first full year in insurance, and I got started with doing direct mail, and I became so obsessed with doing fresh direct mail mortgage. The ultimate problem was I couldn't control my lead flow. And so I wanted more leads, so that would require me locking out more counties and driving more and getting more leads essentially. The problem is it fluctuates week to week. 1 week I can get 40 leads. The next week I can get 10. And so that negatively affects my business because it negatively affects my cash flow. And so I became even in 2022, I became even more aggressive, and I locked out the majority of Illinois, whatever was available. And I would drive an hour and a half, 2 hours for one appointment in Champaign. And so I said, I was starting to get burnt out of the business, and I said, this stinks. And so that's when I started to think about, I need to control my own lead source where I don't have to rely on a third-party vendor or the mortgage rates. And then that's when we started generating our Facebook leads. And then the rest is history from that point. And now we got different lead types, and everything's run in-house.
Yeah, dude, I love digital leads. I really,
Yeah.
really do. Digital leads were becoming more and more popular when I started transitioning into telesales. And I really didn't know what to think, because at first, I mean, I'll just be transparent. Like, a fresh mailer lead was a really high quality. Like, the
Yes.
intent, the client remembered, I had a good
Yes.
answer on the phone. Now, it was an expensive lead.
Right.
And like you said, the availability was rough. I
Yeah.
mean, when we were in person, I regularly flew.
Yeah.
I would fly almost twice a month to North Carolina to
wow.
run leads. I'd fly down to Fort Worth, Texas
I didn't
to
know that. Okay.
leads. Yeah, dude, on a regular basis.
Wow.
Until I got Chicago, which was it was almost 2 years into me being in insurance.
Wow.
Before I got Chicago from my upline. And then, telesales came, and it was like, okay, like, now I'm less restricted. I can buy leads anywhere. But then I was also growing an agency.
Right.
And now you're having the same restrictions.
Yeah.
Because when the lead flow is down, it's like, dude, you have a team of 20 agents and they can't find leads.
Yeah.
And so digital leads started becoming popular, digital mortgage, digital IUL, and I ran them, and I'm like, okay, the quality isn't the exact
Right.
same. And
Right.
that like deterred me at first. But then it was same as my transition from in-person to telesales. I want you to talk about that in a second too. But it's like, okay, it's not exactly the same, but I can run so many more.
Correct.
And I'm not as restricted. And that's what digital was to mail.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is it exactly the quality of this lead? No, but it's unrestricted. I can grow with it. I can
Yeah.
get as many as I
Correct.
want. And this
Correct.
is actually something I can do long term.
Yeah.
So talk about that, because I know you and your team all run digital leads.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing to kind of touch on your point again regarding direct mail is the response rates are lower, and then the
Crazy low.
the amount of people the lead vendors are targeting is larger.
Right.
So now you have more competition with a smaller pool of people.
Yeah,
and it doesn't make sense.
I want to explain that to the audience in case they don't know, because you hit on it. You hit the nail on the head. So the typical mail response is 1%. So that means if you send out 1,000 pieces of mail, 10 people will return, which is crazy to think about. Like, we were in Chicago and 5,000 mortgages in a week sometimes during its height.
Yeah.
Only 50 people are returning
Yeah.
a lead card. And me and you, that's why we ran into each other, because we're competing
That's crazy.
on the same pool of people. Now it's 20 vendors mailing the same 5,000 people.
Yes.
So, dude, I just bought my mom a home behind the office over here like 6 months ago, and she got like 20 of these pieces of. She's like, "Are these important?" They all say last notice, and I'm like, "No, but like stock them away just so I can see how many we get." And I think the final number was like 23.
That's crazy.
That we got. And so the response rate is so low, so many competitors. And then, I mean, the insurance industry is booming as far as even agents coming in. So now it's a bigger pool of agents going over. And because they're getting hit with so much more mail, each individual response rate is going down.
Yeah.
So it's more agents fighting over less leads.
Yeah.
But, dude, that same exact market, and, check me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the last time I checked, it was like 80 million mortgage holders in the United States. You're able to access all of those if you're contacting them digitally.
Correct.
And it's like, oh, okay, like it's different now.
Yeah.
We're able to access all those people. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's crazy me even being resistant to it, looking back, thinking like, oh no, I got to do mail.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what we're taught.
Yeah.
That's what we're taught.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get no-showed on a phone appointment, you can just pick up the phone again.
Right.
If you get no-showed on an in-person, well, now you got a door knock. And this business in the most simplest forms is conversations.
Right.
And the more conversations that you can have with people, the more successful you'll be.
Yeah.
And so virtual allows you to do it, reach out and touch someone in Hawaii, when it's whatever, I think they're 5 hours behind us.
Yeah.
Like, you're able to have a conversation with them at 10 o'clock at night, Central Time, and still talk to them in their local time and maximize on your own time because it's virtual.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, so let's talk about that transition a little bit for people who don't know. What was the transition like from in-person to virtual for you?
Yeah, so 2023, at the beginning of 2023, I didn't want to give up mail, but I knew I needed to do something. And then, because the direct mail responses were, at that point, very bare, maybe one lead a week.
Oh, especially from 2021, 22, because it had been great.
Yes.
Record
Yes.
highs, and then went record lows.
Yes.
Feast of famine, just like that.
And I was always searching for like different lead types, and I was like, I really just wanted direct mail. And so when I started running my own leads, well, people would call in, and I was just having conversations on the phone, and it was like night and day difference. And versus me running in person, setting appointments, versus me selling a client, me selling a client over the phone in like 30 minutes. And I'll never forget, I had a client, it was New Year's Eve of 2022, and she had called in, and I got her coverage 30 minutes later, and I made $3,000. And I said, that's easy. I need to start going virtual.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I started, giving my counties away. And then by March, I just made the transition to 100% over the phone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It was so big in my mind for so long, and then we made we literally were resistant, and then over the course of like 9 months, we went like 5% over the phone to 95%.
Yeah.
You know what? It makes me laugh to this day, dude, is I remember when we first started doing telesales, people would put in the chat, in the sales chat, they'd put hashtag telesale.
Yeah.
People would be like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
it's
cool.
like a superpower.
And then now people put hashtag in person and they'll put a picture
Yeah.
with the client. It blows
In just a couple
people's
years.
minds. And like, dude, it's
Crazy what has happened in just a few short years.
yeah. And I mean, but I love it, dude. I love it for growth. I mean, you
Yeah.
remember, dude, a lot of the time, we just talked about a second ago, every time I was in the field, I had an agent with me because I wanted them to get trained. I wanted them to do in-person training.
Yeah.
And so hundreds of people I've had in that car seat right next to me. And now, and I could only have one. I think one time I had two people with me. And I remember it was so weird walking into someone's house with two other strangers with me. They're like, why are this group of people coming? Like, oh, these guys are two trainees. And they're like, okay. Like, and it was such a, but dude, when I'm running a virtual sale, I can have 30 people watching me, right up until I get to the, the application, and I can just, let them listen to the whole sales process. Yeah.
Especially from an agency management perspective, you can only take, like you said, one or two people on you in homes, versus if you're doing it on Zoom with a team of 30 people, they can unmute, you can correct them. They got a question on eApp, they can share the screen. So it's just much easier from a management perspective to help your squad, be able to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you touched on it there. I want to speak about this because you also, we're doing a lock-in here. You trained on it, and you had agents ask about it there. You just remarked that you create your own leads. Now, obviously, you bought leads for a long time. You got into that. Talk about the pros and cons, because I think a lot of new agents think like, oh, I'm going to start creating my own leads,
it's like
and
the
think
sexy thing to do.
Yeah, and they also think like maybe it's a cheaper way to do it, which is crazy when you actually know, because it's actually the opposite, especially when you get started. So talk to people about the pros and cons like of that, and what you would recommend to someone who might be interested in doing that someday.
If you have no background in any sort of digital marketing or advertising, and you're trying to learn the insurance business, I would allow yourself to develop your skill set over the phone, get good, and buy some aged leads or cheap leads from a vendor. And maybe as the months progress and you get better, you can experiment with that. But it's essentially a whole nother skill set that you have to learn, and a whole separate business that you have to get good at. So the insurance industry is already tough enough as it is, that if you're trying to learn another skill set, it's it may increase you may fail out because you're trying to learn how to run your own leads. So
yeah, and the only reason, like, I think once in a while, because we're very lead driven, I think people think we'd be like anti creating your own leads. The exact opposite is true. I want people to sell insurance. And so if someone comes in and like they have that skill set, I'm just like, dude, more power to you. Like, keep it rolling. But to your point, I've just seen so many people who it's like it becomes a job.
They go down the rabbit trail.
And then some of them, you're right, like they fail out. Like they have one good month and they go all in, and they didn't have the money to not get a return on 5-10 grand they put into leads, and then they're done. They're done. And so
I don't advise it for new agents.
But working for you and your crew right now after how long have you been doing that? You 4 years into the business?
Man, it's so funny. It was something that I just did for myself. And then it became a thing for my agents, and now people reach out and like, hey, can I buy some leads? So I've been doing that for probably for myself, self-gen it's been about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then, I just increased my spend to be able to scale it for my team.
Nice. Yeah. And then, dude, let's talk about the team, because your team is doing right around 200K. Right. Which is, dude, awesome. And you got the crew up there. Yeah. And
Chi-town.
Yeah, dude. And we were talking about a little bit before this, just like shooting the breeze before we got started. You've had some ups and downs with building a team. And you've had definitely some learning experiences that I think are huge lessons to other people that you get to teach and do the same thing with me. I just
Yes.
made mistakes, so it's like, dude, learn from my
Yeah.
mistakes. I made plenty.
Yeah.
And now you're crushing it. I mean, you're like what you're doing with your agents now is great. Talk to people a little bit about maybe some early things that you could have done better, and now what you're doing that's working so well for you.
So some of the things I wish I could have done better, I didn't have a lead system for them. It was basically just throw them, see what sticks. And now we have a lead system. We have a lead match program where they invest some money and I match them. And that helps accelerate their growth because they got more leads. And this business is already hard enough as it is, but really, it's my belief that if you have quality leads, quality training, and structure, that it's going to increase your likelihood of success in this business.
Sure.
And so, having a solid lead structure, I didn't have that in the beginning. I was just having them buy random lead vendors from random places and just hoping they would, make sense of it, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
But that didn't end up working out. So solid leads and solid training is something that I wish I would have maybe communicated more or had in place when I brought them on.
And what does that look like now on the training aspect? Like when you say solid training, like what does that look like for a new agent coming in with you?
Yeah, so we have daily huddles where we are going over accountability, what sort of activity they did, what objections they faced, maybe any adversity they had on the phones that they couldn't, get their client protected or get coverage in place. So just those daily touch points, because maybe someone's in a negative headspace and maybe they had a rough day and they just need to talk about it. And I feel like, talking to them on reaching out to your team and having those daily little mini sessions, whether it be 5, 10, 15 minutes, quick conversations, to just help them adjust and course correct.
Yeah.
And so daily huddles is huge. And then we'll also have like a formal, like once a week training on, maybe it's phone script, maybe it's a particular product. So just multiple touch points and being on the Discord and, weekly trainings.
Talk about that, being on the Discord, because I know you have an office, and some of your agents come to the office to work together, but you guys are on Discord live dials, working together. How important is that for the chemistry of your team?
Really important.
Yeah.
It's another challenge of mine is getting them to get on the Discord. So, but it's the agents that are on the Discord, we've seen they're accountable, they're coachable, they are close to the fire. They're seeing other people win. And it's made a huge, significant difference because they're around other winners. Yeah. And so I'm able to hear them, help. Maybe they said something that I wouldn't have said or I would advise against, and we go from there. Yeah. And so it's made a huge difference in the squad.
What do you think? You've seen a lot of people over the years, just like I have, come in and out. Some come in, dude, that crush it that you never would have expected, right? I always love that. There's been 2 or 3 people that more than that have come in and I'm just like, oh my gosh, no way. And then they just crush it.
Destroy it.
And then there's other people who I thought, they would do great. And they flunk out. Yeah. And what would you say from your time in the business, you would say that people need to have to be successful here? If you had to shape it down like a couple qualities or disciplines.
I mean, I feel repetitive saying just like discipline.
Yeah.
And I would say discipline, but also having a good control of their emotions. Because this is, if you let the highs take you too high and the lows take you too low, it can really just put you in this like downward loop of negative thoughts if you have a bad day in the field, and that can really like affect your mental health if you allow it to. So I would say a level head. Yeah. And emotional stability.
Agents with emotional stability. Yes. I love that, dude. Well, the last thing I'll ask from you, because I think something I've always noticed about you in all our interactions, you seem to have a very positive mindset. Obviously, you're very disciplined.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like legitimately, it's always been really good experience being around you, talking to you at conferences, and now we get to work together. Yeah. It's great. And what would you say if you could give something to like agents wanting to be successful in this business, like to help them have that proper, I'm trying to put it in the right words, just that winning mindset. You know, what has that been for you? Because you've gone through, I mean, just to preface it, you've gone through some tough stuff we
Yeah.
just talked about.
Yeah.
And you've come out of that, it seems like I just my examination of you, grateful, positive, excited about the future,
Yeah.
willing to take a chance on yourself again, willing to go for your dreams, willing to take a bet on other people again. And
Yeah.
I know that just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So I'd say advice that I would give to someone that's looking to be successful in this business is, this is one of the best industries out there. You know, you can literally dig yourself out of any financial hole that you're in if you just put in the consistent work and the discipline. And if you allow yourself to truly become a student of the game and not just focus on the next commission,
Yeah.
but just developing your craft of sales and asking the right questions and understanding that, you know, doctors and lawyers go to school for years and years and years to make the type of money that we could potentially make here.
Yeah.
And having a long view of that, you know, I might not figure out today, it might not be tomorrow, but I'm going to get this thing down and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so understanding that there really isn't anything else like it as far as an active income.
Yeah.
If you put your head down and just really get to work.
Man, I love that so much. I was speaking to Gabe Anderson in Chicago. And it's
Yeah, Gabe.
Yeah, dude, he's a cool dude. And he moved to the area not too long ago. I think
Yeah.
like what, 6 months ago, something
Yeah.
like that. And you know, he's gonna be here for a few years. And I asked him, I was like, "Oh, are you local?" When I first met him, he's like, "No, I moved here like from Texas."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, okay," and just moved up. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I figure." He's almost copied exactly what you said.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, people go to school and get in debt to,
Yes.
you know, to make money someday. He's like, I
Right.
wouldn't move and put some time aside. I'm going to make money right now
Yes.
to learn a skill set to make more money in the future.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, what a phenomenal way to look at it.
Yeah. This business is truly life changing if you allow it to.
Yeah.
If you stay, there's a word I like to use, patiently urgent.
Yeah.
Understand that you have to give yourself some patience, but you also have to have urgency in how you move and operate the business.
Yeah. Dude, I was literally just talking to Chris Maka, who I know you're good friends
Yeah.
with. And dude, that is one of his like big things. He's like a sense of urgency.
Yes.
And so it's crazy. You know, success leaves clues. It's crazy how many top producers, the mindset, like, yeah, those people have their different opinions and nuances, but it's like, it's crazy how much is like, oh, this is everyone who's killing on a top level,
Yeah.
like thinks this way.
Yes.
And so, okay, I lied. Two more things real quick.
Yes, sir.
One, obviously your team is revving. You're not even getting started. We talked about it. You're like, I'm not even gotten going
No,
yet on
we're just
recruiting.
getting started. We are just getting started.
What is your goal for the rest of the year? Because we're coming into the fourth quarter, which is always our biggest part of the year. And what's your goal for next year?
Yeah, so to finish out this year, I would say if I can get my squad to 500,000 in issued paid business a month, we're currently at 200, and the next year we're shooting for $1 million, man. Shooting for $1 million. But I take pride in getting agents from zero to 20, 30, 40K.
Yeah.
Because I always tell agents, I mean, as we've been taught before, 20,000 is what it takes, man.
Yeah.
That's what you need to survive in this business.
Yeah.
Chargebacks, lead expenses, the advance, you got to be right in 20K.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
So my goal is always to get agents to, the more agents I get to that number,
Yeah.
the better.
Well, that's the way to do it. And I keep saying it's going to be the last thing, but something I wanted to touch on with you that I didn't is just the building structure. Because we both came from not an ideal building structure where maybe we had, you know, there's like a 5-point difference there on someone we were trying to train, and it became a lot of work for no pay, and then actually cost you money.
Yes.
Because you got 100% of any debt. And now, I mean, dude, people that get to, I mean, even the 4th or 5th level in our building structure, they are rolling.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talked about it, getting people to 20K. Not only is that agent probably making the best money of their entire life, but that's also enough for the person who did it to
Yeah.
have a profitable, sustainable
Correct.
business.
Correct.
So when you think about building a business, like what part of that is like agents that are direct to you, people that you're helping build a business?
Yeah. So one thing that I've quickly realized over the years is, and this isn't to brag on myself, but the skill set of sales and what we're able to do here, it could be unique.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to build that trait out of, being able to write consistently. It's a unique trait that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah.
And so I've realized my time is valuable, so I have to be compensated for my time on the agents that I bring on. Now, with that said, I am motivated to pour absolutely everything into these people to help them be successful because we have a proper comp structure here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, we're not running off the 5-10 point spreads. We're building with a spread, how a properly structured business should be. But me, as an agency owner, I'm doing whatever I can. I'm pouring into these people to help them be profitable and make it in the insurance space.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. That's something that is not talked about enough in the insurance space is profitability. Because every person that's been a business owner knows, and you touched on it right at the beginning, you can have a whole lot of money coming through the front door and not necessarily be a profitable business.
Correct.
And you need to have money coming through the front door. It's not the money you make, it's the money that you keep.
Correct.
And so I love that that's a focus for you and your agents as you're helping them understand. Because for a lot of people, it was for me, it was the first time I ever owned a business. So I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And so that's phenomenal. If someone wants to work with you, Jonathan, someone trying to get into the insurance industry, trying to get with Pinnacle, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. You can reach out to myself on Instagram. My Instagram is Real Jonathan Avila. It's REAL, Jonathan, JONATHAN, Avila, AVILA. And my direct cell phone is 773-886-7798.
Love it. Dude, thank you so much for
Thanks for
what
having
you
me, man. I
contribute
appreciate it,
to the
dude. I really
company,
do.
what you contribute to Pinnacle, dude. And it's a blessing to work with you,
Thank
bro.
you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day. God bless.